They say this is a Laker town, and some of y'all come from the Clipper part. No rings, no ships, y'all never make it. This is where it goes down. Oh, yeah.
So he didn't get to remind us last playoffs what he always seems to do in the playoffs, which is show there's distance between him and everyone else in the league. But in his absence, someone else stepped up, a guy who'd already won an MVP in the finals for the defense he played on LeBron when he was still a puppy. And then when he became a fully mature player, led the Raptors to a championship. Yes, of course the Warriors were hurt, and that's why. Were the Warriors not hurt? No one was going to beat them. They were too good. But Kawhi won Finals MVP again. So that happened in LeBron's absence. That means the title is vacant. Kawhi took it by force, just not against LeBron. Okay, so once I saw that and saw him kind of airdropped into a Clippers situation with Paul George in place of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari to a 48-win team, I thought, well, those are huge upgrades. Let's see how this works out. Sure enough, when they're at full strength, they almost never lose.
We in the March in April. Give me the ball.
Let
me show you what this is.
LeBron scared to go to the free throw line at the end of the game?
Not anymore.
Because Kawhi Leonard is a cyborg sent from the future with no
totally
emotions.
Totally now. That wasn't always the case.
Listen to me.
I understand. I get it. I get it.
At the end of this season, the Western Conference Finals, you understand now that they have Paul George on the team.
Yes.
And Patrick Beverly
Paul
on the
George
team.
is a star.
And Lou
Patrick
Williams
Beverly,
on the
my little
team,
brother,
right?
all of that, no doubt.
I don't want to hear from you when Kawhi gets Finals MVP this year after outplaying and knocking LeBron out in the Western Conference Finals. I'm not trying to hear from you. Well, but they have Paul George to defend him, too, and Patrick Beverly. And Lou Williams was a bad brother coming off the bench. I'm not trying to hear that. LA, who love the Lakers, but the Clippers are going to make new generations of fans now. That will ultimately eat into the Lakers market. They didn't do it in the Blake Griffin, CP3, DeAndre Jordan era because they weren't good enough. The Lakers left the window open. The Clippers closed it for them, right? But this Clippers team, I'm telling you right now, will win a championship, and I believe that will happen this year. And when that happens, you will create...
This year?
This season. When that happens, they will create new fans in L.A. that are Clippers fans instead of Lakers fans. That is going to happen, period. So, Kawhi wins the Finals MVP, wins the championship. That doesn't prove it to you. If he wins the Finals MVP again this year on the Clippers, I'll hear more excuses why it's not him. I'm here to tell you, if Kawhi would have stayed in Toronto, they'd win the championship this year.
Stop with that. This year?
This year.
With the Lakers and AD?
If Kawhi stayed in Toronto, they won the championship this year.
You should have your basketball.
They got 18 wins without Kawhi.
I don't give a damn.
They didn't get anything for him.
You watch your mouth. You heard that. You silent. You silent right now. I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to save you right now because your basketball card's about to be stripped. This Toronto, I know Toronto Raptors are a good team. I got to. With Kawhi, you trying to tell me that they would take out the Lakers, or they would take out a Clippers team with Paul George and let's say some other superstar, whatever. Really? You don't even need to be talking basketball.
Coach said, when the play in the important games, I would rather have Kawhi than LeBron. He's the reigning Finals MVP.
Let me press Max. Comparing just this season, 2019-20 season. Who is the better player so far this season, LeBron or Kawhi Leonard?
Kawhi Leonard. LeBron James has played more games, so he has more value, you could argue, to his team, although the Clippers don't care so much about the regular season record. They got their eyes on the prize.
Wow.
They've played twice. First, let's realize Kawhi Leonard is the reigning and defending Finals MVP.
That's true. That's cool. Last year don't got nothing to do with this year.
Okay, but let's talk about this year. But that's how he enters the year.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Giannis is the best player in the world. No, Kawhi, he wasn't ready for it. He wasn't ready for it. Now Kawhi goes to the Clippers. He's joining a team, like they took two nice players, Gallinari and Shai, like they take them out and they replace them with Kawhi and Paul George, with Doc Rivers as the coach. Yeah. Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams, they just added Marcus Smart. It's going to be problems. Opening day, LeBron, Kawhi, LA. Kawhi's trolling them with ads and stuff with the keys to the city.
That's one game.
Okay, but
one game.
Hold on. That's one game. Kawhi did him. It was embarrassing. LeBron didn't want it. Next day, Christmas Day, nationally televised. Here it goes. LeBron's going to show everybody what's what. Both ends of the floor, it was a mismatch. Listen, Kawhi is in his prime. If this is LeBron 3 years ago, of course LeBron's better. We're talking about right now. This has happened to me once before with respect to LeBron James. When in 2016, in the midst of a 73-win season, Steph Curry looked unstoppable, going back 4 years already. And I said, I know a guy like Steph is never the best player in the world, his size and everything. LeBron's so much more athletic. But given the rules today, Steph has surpassed LeBron. And I had to eat my words then when LeBron led them on a comeback in a Game 7 to win at Oracle. And in the last almost 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, the greatest half-court offense ever didn't score a point, led by Steph Curry, who turned the ball over. And I had to come out and say, oops, sorry, LeBron, you're still the king after all. Look, this morning I have to say, at this moment, whoops, 4 years after that fact, sorry, LeBron, you're still the best player in the world after all. Kawhi blew it.
Are you finished? I just want to make sure because I want to give you all the time you need. Now I want to give you all the time you need. Are you finished? Because once I get in, I don't want to be interrupted. I want to give you the floor because I don't want to be interrupted.
About when I get
puppets? Are you sure?
Sock puppets? I'm finished for now. Depends on what you say.
Okay. First of all, your little soliloquy right there shows why when it comes to the sport of basketball, you should be banned from talking about the sport. Your take was embarrassing. After all of this noise that you have made all of these years about Kawhi Leonard, you come on national television. I give you the top of the show. I step back. I got my team do this right here, Max. Got my team right here. Listen, man. Look, man, I stepped back, Max. I gave you the floor. And your response to the American public after the drivel you have subjected us all to for the last several years was, whoops, I blew it. That's the best you can do. Right there, Max Kellerman. I mean, talk about somebody that should shut up. If not flat out, I don't want to hear whoops. No. I mean, you owe America a public apology. You owe the basketball gods a public apology. Kawhi Leonard, he wasn't even the third option when he was in San Antonio and he won the league MVP. And then last year, there was no Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson went down. He shouldn't have won last year. This was the first time in his career he was the #1 dude. All the pressure was on him, and he flat out choked. There is no way around this. Floor is yours.
Yeah, he choked. That's right.
I'm not finished, but the floor is yours.
As John Maynard Keynes, Stephen A. said,
he choked,
famous economist.
That's all you got.
When the facts change, so does my opinion. What about you, sir?
Did you bring up
last year when you showed that
clip,
and by the way, let's start.
Did
now
you
I have
just
to
bring up an
debunk
economist?
all the bunk that you just spewed. You had your chance.
You just brought up an economist on a basketball argument? Is that what you just did?
All the bunk you just spewed. Zip it, as you would say. All the bunk you just spewed. Number one, I wasn't saying for years Kawhi was the best. I said since last year's playoff. Going into the playoffs, I said Giannis was, because that's what he showed during the regular season, and LeBron was hurt, and also much older at that point. Then Kawhi dominated everyone in the playoffs, including in the finals, and at that point, I said what just happened. He had one of the all-time great clutch postseasons of all time. Kawhi is the one dude who must show up in a Game 7, who cannot allow a team led by him that's led by double digits in 3 straight games around halftime, right? Because that means they got enough to win. He cannot allow that team to collapse. He's the leader of the team. It counts heavily against him at the moment. Now, if the Nuggets do the same thing to the Lakers, we can have another conversation. Now, it doesn't mean Kawhi's reputation is now ruined forever. LeBron choked in 4 fourth quarters against the Dallas Mavericks once upon a time when he was on a super team that he created. Kobe Bryant had a 3-1 lead on the Suns, and they wound up losing in 7. This happens to the greatest players of all time, and maybe it just happened to Kawhi.
In the league.
I would love to see LeBron win this championship and the MVP for that matter. But I just think the Clippers are better.
And the idea that the Clippers, and I know it's hard for people to fathom and grasp and hold on to, but they have a chance to win. They have a chance to win a championship. In fact, I'm standing out here. I'm going to be out in the wilderness by myself, and I'm telling you that the Clippers will win the NBA championship this year.
You think you're in the wilderness on that?
Yeah, to win it.
Who is saying otherwise? Who is saying?
No, I'm not saying. People are saying they have a chance. I don't know how many people are saying they're going to win it. I'm going to tell you the next two NBA champions.
Go ahead.
Clippers this year and the Brooklyn Nets next year. Those are the next 2 years. I love what they did. They have a smart, rich owner.
Yep.
They have a great coach. They have something already in place.
You know what they have, though? They have an identity.
Yes, that's what they have it.
And, you look at the Lakers. What are they? How do the pieces fit together?
You don't know yet.
Exactly. You know what you're going to get from the Clippers.
Is Anthony Davis... Put your cocoa next to the radio, all right? You ready? This is how hot it is. But the one thing I learned from last night's Laker loss to the Bucks in Milwaukee is that the Lakers, your Lakers, Chris Broussard, are championship frauds as we head into Christmas. You heard me?
What does that mean?
Frauds.
No, clarify what
They're
you just
frauds.
said.
Here we are.
Because I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Why you got to throw in as we head into Christmas?
This is where we are.
Meaning 3 months from now, as we head into March, they could actually be legitimate championship
No, I can't
contenders?
talk about that. That's the future.
Well, why are we talking about the championship?
I'm talking about right now, like the two teams that are in their way. Because they got all these wins, and everybody's raving. Oh, the Lakers, oh, my God. Every day I get a text from a Laker fan. They're 22-2. They're 23-3. They're 24-4. That's all I got from people telling me how wrong I am about their Lakers and how they're going to win the championship. And LeBron is the king. And AD's the best player in the league. And Vogel is an unbelievable coach. And Magic Johnson should get credit because he put this together. The two teams that are in their way are the Clippers and the Bucks. And they haven't beaten any one of them. So you can pile up all these other wins you won against nobody. And I'm telling you, right here, right now, the Lakers are frauds. Championship frauds. They're no closer to winning a championship than they were last Christmas when they were when they beat the Warriors on the championship. I mean, on Christmas Day. You hear me? Yes! I tried to tell you. I'm right about this.
Rob Parker.
Chris will be wrong. The Lakers are championship frauds. Write it down.
I ain't paying for that.
Put it in an envelope and send it to your best friend.
I'm the definition of half man, half done?
Hey, I just want people to know, Chris, I know people on Twitter and social media. First of all, I did not cry myself to sleep last night. I'm not a fan of the Clippers. Just because I picked them to win and I was wrong doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Sometimes I don't understand if people actually get, or do they think like because you make a pick or because you pick against somebody else, you hate that person or that team or you're a fan of it. So I just want people to know. No, I'm not a Clippers fan. I don't have any gear. I've never been a Clippers fan, but I did pick them to win the championship, and they didn't do it. That's it.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. And, I was on the shows today, First Things First and Undisputed. So I felt the wrath of Nick Wright and Brandon Marshall on First Things First.
Which is fine. You know what I mean.
And then Shannon, of course, Skip and I felt the wrath on Undisputed. But, yeah. I was thinking about, because you're right. I mean, like I said yesterday, we're not cheerleaders.
Right.
I've never been a Clippers fan. I mean, obviously we try to be objective generally, but you've never been a Clippers fan. But you do pull for the team, your picks, because you want to be right?
We talk about it all the time.
And
that's
we joke,
our job.
And we brag,
yes.
and we bragging rights and all that. So
that's our job.
Right.
Is when we pick these things, you want to have some foresight. You want to be right. It's a big deal for analysts. That's what we do.
Right.
But we're wrong sometimes, and it's all right. Like I said.
Let me congratulate LeBron James and company for a March the 8th victory over their arch rival and their obviously biggest threat. Let me congratulate them because they are now down 2-1 in the season series. Am I right about that? Clippers have now won 2 to the Lakers 1. Am I right? Thank you very much. And what I saw yesterday does not remotely change my opinion that the Clippers are still the better team and that will be proven down the road in May and June whenever they meet.
Okay.
Yesterday was what I call an aberration game, a throw-it-out game, because yesterday something happened that I believe we will not see again, no matter how many more times these two teams meet again down the rest of this season stretch. Because the Clippers are just mentally and physically tougher than the Lakers. They just are. Whatever their DNA is, and it starts with little tiny Patrick Beverley.
Yes.
And did he get a bunch of rebounds last night?
Yeah.
Ooh, boy, he got 9 rebounds.
9.
That'll work, won't it? That's just sheer scrap. That's what he's made of, and it rubs off. It's contagious to the whole team. Montrez comes in, and he will not be bullied because he is a big, bad bully.
He's a bully.
He is. and all the rest of them just feed off length and defensive savvy and want to. This team comes out of the locker room wanting to play defense. And it's hard on the Lakers because the only reason they withstood the first quarter onslaught of Kawhi Leonard, because he scored 14 right out of the box, like, here, this is my game, this is my building, and by the way, this is Kawhi Town. It is now Kawhi Town.
Stop it.
So he said that. Really.
And some LeBron James 17.
If, in fact, your man LeBron carry these Lakers to a title, I will come out here not only in a 23 Laker jersey, but I'll get me a, what did he call it, a fake little wig. My biggest takeaway from last night, this team that I watched that hasn't even practiced together yet, these two, by March, April, May, they're going to be better than your team. That's what I saw last night.
We're going to see.
Last night in Dallas, against the quote-unquote next Larry Bird that you love.
Yeah,
the early runaway MVP, Luka Doncic.
Ooh, struggled.
The Clippers made a huge statement. They said, watch this. They said, when it comes to defense, we are in a league of our own. Clearly, utterly, hands down, the Clippers proved last night in Dallas they are easily the best defensive team in the National Basketball Association because big, they are strong, and they are highly skilled. That's the bottom line to what happened to the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
Kawhi, Paul George.
Okay.
And then you throw in Sweet Lou and Montrez.
Ah, that a close.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Here we go.
They loaded.
And in the end, as Jenny pointed out, Paul George said, offensively, we're still a work in progress, but defensively, scary on the East Coast. Number 2 dropped a stealth bomb that changed NBA history in my estimation because it effectively ended LeBron's championship possibilities. LeBron James is not going to win another championship without number 2. Period. End of story.
So you getting that kind of credit?
Yes, I do, because it would. I have been covering the National Basketball Association for the longest time. I started with Kareem's Lakers here in L.A. in 1976. So it's a long time. I've seen a lot of playoff basketball in my day. In all my time, I have never seen a team collapse the way the Clippers collapsed. I've seen lots of back and forth seesaw battles where the underdog finally wound up winning Game 7 and shocking the prohibitive favorite.
Right.
But those games go back and forth, where they take turns blowing each other out and embarrassing each other. Did the Clippers ever get blown out by the Nuggets from wire to wire? No. Did the Nuggets ever come out and just take over a game and you said, man, tonight was just the Nuggets' night? No, it didn't happen. The odds makers kept saying Clippers. They indicted the Clippers because they kept saying you are clearly better than the other team because for the first 6 games, they were 8.5-point favorites.
Right.
Last night, they were 7.5.
7.5. Yeah.
So the point is that Las Vegas is saying you are clearly better than the other team. And in each of the closeout games, obviously games 5, 6, and 7, they showed you for stretches, really long stretches of the game,
Yes.
they were the superior basketball team
Yes.
because they led the first game 5 last Friday night. They were up by 19. Game 6, they were up by 16. And last night, with 4 minutes left in the first half, they were up by 12. So they kept showing you, we're this good, and we're this good.
Right.
And then what happened? They utterly got devastated and blown off the floor by a team that psychologically owned them in all the moments that mattered. The Denver Nuggets snatched their heart, and then they snatched their soul.
But Skip, you told me they were the most mentally toughest team. That's why they were going to beat the Lakers.
I agree that it wasn't just me. I heard it from all the analysts.
Who said it? Who said it?
Everybody, starting with our Chris Broussard, who's going to join us. He was the first to say on this show, the Clippers just got too many dogs. And we're talking about mentally tough dogs.
Yes.
And for 3 straight fourth quarters, they turned into nothing but choking dogs.
Yes.
They turned back into the sorry, laughingstock,
Clippers.
belong in the basement Clippers.
Yes.
That everybody in L.A. ridicules and laughs at. And last night, they were even worse than the old worst Clippers.
Even you returned them to the basement. You told them to go back to the basement.
Go back to the basement
That's what
where
you
you
told
belong.
them.
Because all year long, they were often the favorite to win the whole championship.
Yes.
Going into the bubble, I think they were co-favorites
They were.
with the Lakers to win it all. So it's not like they were sort of a mid-rung. No, they were the favorite.
Right.